Beloved within the Seventh-day Adventist Church, beloved in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, this is a very urgent message, a very urgent message called a reexamination of David Gates' message, a reexamination of David Gates' message, The Wise Shall Understand. Now, fall 2018, David Gates brought out the fact that the judgment of the living began fall 2015 when the Pope came speaking for two houses of Congress and asked for climate change legislation. And he talked about it in Laudato Si before he came to the States to get that legislation passed. Did that happen? Well, spring 2020, about 5 years later, COVID-19 popped off, which is a climate law, and draconian measures were passed, taking away the right to freedom of speech, the right to congregate in large groups, the right to travel from state to state without travel bans, the right to travel on planes, to freely into other countries and in this country, to stay from state to state. Freedom of speech became limited on social platforms that did not respect the agenda of Anthony Fauci and other health professionals on the issue of COVID-19, which is a climate law for the environment, which is a sun's law through the back door, and the Paris Climate Accord. That's why they elected Biden, beloved. They elected Biden in spring in fall 2020 because they're trying to pass. The Pope is trying to get his agenda passed. They're trying to pass the Paris Climate Accord. You see, Donald Trump, he rejected the Paris Climate Accord. He did not endorse it, which was a son-in-law through the back door, which was a climate law. He did not endorse it. That's why they did not reelect him, because the papacy is in cahoots with the U.S. government to pass Sunday legislation, beloved, within the Adventist Church. And you see, that's the real issue. So, the judgment of the living began fall 2015 when the Pope came for his two houses of Congress. Probation began to close upon Seventh-day Adventist leaders spring 2019 when they accepted women's ordination and Sunday sacredness practice through Sunday Surge in some of our Seventh-day Adventist churches. And continue to practice new theology prisms such as we can't overcome our sin, Christ is not the most holy place, the heavenly sanctuary, all those type of new theological prisms, and not last generation theology. And then, beloved, within the Adventist Church, spring 2022 is when probation closes for all of the church, all the membership who are complicit with the women's ordination apostasy, Sunday Surge apostasy, ecumenicalism, and new theology within the church, and women's ordination, sin-lived theology, and do not want to preach the imminent return of Christ and victory over sin. So that's when probation closes for the spring 2022, according to the Jewish calendar. The Jewish calendar points out when the 6,000 years are over. We know the latter rain and probation closing for the church and the Sunday law all come on time according to the Jewish calendar, and they come upon a sabbatical year. They come upon a ceremonial Sabbath day, maybe not necessarily a literal Sabbath at the end of a week period, but a ceremonial Sabbath day. So that's prophecy being fulfilled in that standpoint, in the Adventist Church. So time is almost up for us as a church body. And I agree with David Gates' newest sermon called "The Wise Shall Understand," when he said that the 70-week prophecy ends in spring 2021 for the Seventh-day Adventist Church, the antitypical version of it, because we have not made an end of sins, we have not brought everlasting righteousness, we have not made reconciliation for iniquity, we have not anointed the most holy, according to Daniel 9, 24 and 27. We've not done our work. And Moses Mason brought the same point out in his ministry as well before he died. And you know what? The truth of the matter is this, that the church is not doing its work to stop sin, to stop apostasy. And that's why God is no longer with the Seventh-day Adventist Church after spring 2022. The message is going to largely go out to the spiritual Gentiles, the apostate Protestant churches, 544,000, when they preach against the union of church and state and preach a loud cry against the mark of the beast prophecy. Because the sons of law will be passed, and for instance, Sunday churches have more faith than the Adventist church around that time. And Stephen will be stoned in that time. And I hope I'm alive during the reapplication of the 1335 and 1290. The 1290 started a little before spring 2021. It started in spring 2019, and it ends right before spring 2022. And the 1335 of literal days begins around spring 2022 and ends around spring 2025. And then I believe the sons of law will be passed around that time, and between 2022 and 2025, sons of law will be passed, and Jacob's time of trouble, and the seven last plagues are going to fall, and no buy, no sell system is going to happen, and the death decree. Pray, beloved, that we're all ready to meet God in peace when He comes back, and not get the mark of the beast and receive the still of God, because Jesus Christ is soon to come back. Maranatha, God bless you. Happy Sabbath to you this Sabbath. God bless.